Good afternoon, everybody. I am here to talk to you about the books that I read in January 2024. So, I started January with this wonderful book called Alfie, the Holiday Cat. Now, this book is actually the fourth book in a series of books which center around this main cat, Alfie. So, I actually read the first book a few months ago. It's called Alfie the Doorstep Cat, and this is the fourth book. It's part of the same series. This is one of those series that is a standalone book. Like every book is a standalone story in and of itself, but the characters keep repeating. So this is book one and this is book four, and by the time you're in book four, Alfie has a child and everything, and Alfie and his child kitten are going on a holiday. I was able to find both of these books in a book sale, and these were the only books that I was able to find. But I'm starting to really enjoy this series, and I think that I will continue reading most of this. So, in Alfie the Doorstep Cat, there's this cat Alfie. His owner dies, and then he actually runs away and then goes to Edgar Road, and there he becomes a cat of multiple families. So he goes to multiple families and he kind of becomes their pet cat. In Alfie the Holiday Cat, you have Alfie and then you have his son George. And they now stay with one of the families in Edgar Road, but it's like all of the families that Alfie used to visit have now all become friends and they all get together a lot. So in the Holiday Cat, they are actually going to a cottage at a village side, and they're going to live there, and they're going to uh, it's like the children's summer vacation or something, and everyone is just on a holiday. It's pretty nice. It's pretty fun, simple book to read. The other book that I read is Tumble and Blue. Now this was a surprisingly good book. um I did not think it would be this good, but it was like really really good. So the story here goes like this. There is a creature which these people they call Munch, and this creature allows anyone to change their fate, like have like a really good fate and stuff. So a long time ago, there were two people, one from the Montgomery family and one from the Lafayette family. And what they did was because what they did was the fate that they got, they split it up between them. So what happened was the two of them lived very long, very happy, very healthy lives, but in their progeny, in the generations, what happened was some of them would get like a really good um, gift, and some of them would get like a really bad gift, like a curse. So like for example, our Blue Montgomery, one of our characters, his curse is that he loses at everything. And that means literally everything. He loses at tic tac toe, he loses at Scrabble, he loses at racing, he loses at everything. That is his curse. His father has the opposite curse, which is where he wins at everything. Similarly, he has a set of cousins where one of them has this curse where all the animals respect her and all the animals love her, and the other cousin has the curse that all the animals hate her and stuff like that. So one summer over, Blue is sent over to his grandparents because this um, blood moon, which is like the day when you can go and change your fate and all of that, is about to come, and so a lot of Montgomerys are coming back to their family home to like go through those trials and get a new fate. So Blue comes over to his grandparents' house, and that is where he meets Tumble. Now, Tumble is this young girl who just wants to be a superhero. So, at first, I was confused. I was like, okay, do superheroes exist in this world? Because clearly, curses exist and weird creatures who give curses exist. I was like, maybe superheroes also exist. But then in the end, you know that the superhero is kind of like those Power Rangers, where these Power Rangers, so people in costumes and stuff do these shows and all of that, and children come to watch these shows and stuff, and children are huge fans of Power Rangers, but those are not like Power Rangers in reality, right? They're just actors who are doing like a show and stuff like that. They're just putting on character, they're just putting on a suit and doing a show. So it's actually like that. Tumble Wilson is like really, really into being a superhero. And why is she into being a superhero? So at the somewhere in the book, you find out that Tumble comes from the Lafayette family, and because of that she also has a curse, and her curse is that she always gets into trouble. So every time she's trying to do something, she gets into trouble, and then someone else has to save her from that trouble. That is like the story. I mean, obviously the story is how these both go, and then they find the crocodile. They call him a crocodile, but it's actually like the creature that gives them the fate, and then they have to make a choice about the fate and stuff. I would say that I really like this book, but it does have a somewhat open ending where it's not exactly clear what was the effect of the new fate. Like, and that was a bit annoying for me because I really, really don't like open endings. I prefer like clean endings, even if they're bad endings. I prefer like you tell me exactly what's happening, but in the end, it's kind of confusing. Like, I'm not like, yeah, the new fate has been given, but what does the new fate actually do? We don't actually know. So the next book which I read was this thing called Lorelei's Secret. Now this book, let me tell you what this book is about. So look at this. One afternoon, my wife climbed on top of the apple tree in our backyard and fell to her death. There were no witnesses save our dog. So the narrator of the story is the husband of this guy, of this woman Lexi, right? And that guy, Paul, is a linguist by profession. And one day he gets the call from the police that your wife has fallen from the apple tree in your backyard, and she's dead. And there is no one else except for the dog Lorelei. Like, no one else has seen what has happened and stuff like that. So this guy kind of becomes obsessed with teaching the dog how to talk so that he could find out whether his wife really just died as an accident or did she kill herself. Now, I'm sure you understand where my brain went after seeing that summary. But thankfully, that is not what happens. Well, what happens is a little bit dramatic, I guess you can say. So how the book is written is that one chapter is of the present day, where he is trying to teach his dog to talk, and one chapter is of the past, telling us about how he met his wife, how they got together, their first date, so on and so forth, blah blah blah. Now what I found in this book was that I was interested in the right now story. I wanted to know what he's going to do with the dog, what he's going to like do the trading, if he has to face any like ethical issues while doing it and all of that. I was not interested in the whole background love story, what was happening, right? I read it, but you could literally just tell me that Lexi was this quirky girl who was maybe also depressed, who was obsessed with this childhood rhyme, and that is all you need to know. That is all you need to know about her. Like, she is potentially depressed, and there's this childhood rhyme that she loves a lot. Okay. Now, the only reason that her husband Paul suspects that she committed suicide is because she rearranges the entire bookshelf that they have before she dies that day. So he goes around, he tries to teach his dog how to speak, blah blah blah. A lot of things happen. He gets involved with these group of people who literally do animal abuse in the name of scientific progression. It's annoying to read. In the end, though, he does find out that the wife actually did kill herself. It was not an accident, and she rearranged the bookshelf to match with the rhyme, that nursery rhyme, children's rhyme that she loved so much, and that is the ending of this book. It was such an interesting premise, but I felt like by the time you reach the end, it's just a very bland ending. I did think at some point that we would go into some kind of fantasy element, but that did not happen, uh, which I think is okay. But I did not think the ending was that good. By the time you come to the end, I was like, that is what the ending was. It didn't leave that much of an impact on me, but it was still a good read. It's interesting when you read genres that you've never read before, when you read books that you've never read before, you find interesting things. It's okay if I didn't like it, but it's still an interesting thing to read. The last book that I read this month, was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Now, this book is written in the perspective of a special needs child. Now, I'm using the word special needs child because that's the word that they use in this book. They never tell you what the actual diagnosis of this person is. You just know that he goes to the school for special needs, and then he calls himself like a special needs child. So that's why I'm using the term special needs. What happens is 15-year-old Christopher finds a dead dog, and then he wants to know who killed the dog. So he goes around asking about who kills the dog and stuff like that. And what he actually uncovers is, what other mysteries will he end up uncovering? What he actually uncovers is like his parents' affair and the divorce and the whole conflict which existed in his family with his parents, which he was unaware of before. And he finds out because he starts talking to neighbors, and then he finds out local neighbor gossip, and then he starts thinking, and then he eventually finds out the whole affair, stuff that happened with his parents. Now, this book is again written in the same way that Lorelei's Secret was, where you have one chapter which you're actually following the story current time, and then you have one chapter which talks about this guy and like his special needs, some memory, something about his parents, just something he kind of tells you randomly. Once again, you're reading this from the narrator's point of view, and the narrator is the child. So one chapter he's telling you about his investigation, and then one chapter he's just telling you something interesting about himself. This was better because you find out interesting things about the character, which builds who the character is in your head. And this was a good book. Like, I was happy with this ending. I was happy with like the whole book. It did not feel draggy to me at any point, which even Lorelei's Secret did not feel draggy to me at any point. I don't think anything that I read this month felt dragged out at all. All the pacing of all of the books were really good. I think that if I had to make a pile of everything I liked and everything I disliked, then I would say that I liked all of these books, and Lorelei's Secret was the only thing I disliked just because of its ending. Like, if the ending was something else, um, I'm not even sure what would have satisfied me, but when I read this ending, I felt that it was just very bland. But when you think about it, it also makes sense for it to be that ending because, quirky, depressed girl. So I guess if you look at it from that perspective, then you can just say that I liked all of the books that I did read this month. Overall, though, I have to say that this month was really good in terms of reading for me, because I read a bunch of really good books. And not only did I read a bunch of really good books, I also read them relatively quickly. Like, I finished The Curious Case of the Curious Incident of the Dog like 2 or 3 days after I finished Lorelei's Secret. And I finished Lorelei's Secret like a week after I finished Tumble in Blue. So it was I loved the pacing of all of these books that allowed me to read them really, really quickly, really, really soon. And that is why I'm really satisfied with all of the books that I read in January. And that is all that I have for this video. I hope you liked it, and if you do, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel for more such videos. I will see you soon. Bye bye.